labor data week, but actually a delayed labor data week. As we know, the first week of every single month is labor data, but due to the 72-hour government shutdown that we saw earlier this week, non-farm payroll was delayed. And as we talk about, non-farm payroll is the biggest driver of interest rates every single month, right? Three things you always look for: CPI, non-farm payroll, and Fed meetings. Non-farm payroll, the biggest one when it comes to mortgage interest rates. So, was delayed last Friday and was actually released today, 3 days late, nothing too bad. But let's digest this non-farm payroll report. So we had some conflicting information in it. First and foremost, we had revisions for all of last year. So if you add up all of the jobs last year, we saw about 181,000 jobs being added, only 15,000 a month. And if you take out the pandemic recession that we saw, this is the lowest jobs have been added since 2003. So it was a slow year in regards to hiring. But the other counter to that is that January, we had a very robust January. January came in 80,000 above expectations. Again, the key concept is, will that eventually be revised? Who knows? But due to the fact that we had 80,000 jobs beating the market here in January, it is likely we will not see any Fed cuts in the near future. However, if you peel back the numbers, not that bad, the 181,000, all of last year, 15,000. What we did see is we saw a lot of government jobs being reduced in private sector, not necessarily growing at a rapid rate, but at least still growing. Personally, I think it's a positive thing. We want to see the public sector, private sector, we want to see it growing. We don't want to see government jobs being continually be added, because that's what leads to higher taxes, things of that sort. So we want to get a little bit more efficient there. And as we get more efficient, those jobs can be reduced. And as the private sector grows, that's a good thing. Again, private sector didn't grow much, but it grew enough that it wasn't bad. So overall, non-farm payroll wasn't too bad. However, what I'm here to talk about is something a little more unique. So last Thursday, we had a decent rally in interest rates. And I'm trying to peel back the curtain as to why we saw a decent rally in interest rates. And to me, I think it's something that a lot of people aren't talking about. And it's basically all investment into CapEx in the upcoming future. Now, if you're not understanding what all that means, basically, the big five companies, you got Google, you got Amazon, you got Apple, you got Meta, you got all these large companies. They release their Q4 earnings, but they also release what they're going to be expending their investment on in 2026, right? In CapEx, infrastructure, data centers, basically in today's world, artificial intelligence. So February 5th, Amazon released theirs. And if you don't know, Amazon is the largest employer in the world. And they estimated that they will be spending $200 billion on CapEx. And when you add up all the other four companies, Meta, Oracle, things like that, we had $700 billion being invested. That is 2% of GDP. 5 companies are spending 2% of GDP on essentially growth. And if you're seeing that being the most important one, Amazon, because it has the most employees, is spending $200 billion, the size of some country's GDP on capital expenditure. That makes you think, right? Dang, what's going to happen, right? We know artificial intelligence is here. We know it's something that a lot of us have never seen before, right? It's not a bubble. If anyone thinks it's a bubble, it's not a bubble. It's a technology that none of us have ever seen. The power of it is truly amazing. And if you see Amazon spending $200 billion, what are they spending that $200 billion on? They're trying to become more efficient. They're trying to maximize margins. Well, if they accomplish that, and the largest employer in the world, what does that do? That means they're likely not going to be hiring in the future. And that could also likely mean a reduction in the labor force for Amazon. I believe that when this was released on Thursday, that is what led to the bond rally. That is what led to lower interest rates. Because remember, lower interest rates are heavily fueled by a weaker labor market. And again, this is all speculation. Highlight that, very important. Huge speculation, this is just my opinion. And again, I'm not saying this to kind of fear anyone, but artificial intelligence, I do believe everyone should pay attention to artificial intelligence. It's incredibly important, and I do believe it's gonna have drastic effects on the macroeconomy. I don't think it's gonna be over the next 24 months. I do think it's gonna be more in that 4 to 7 year range, but yes, I think it's going to happen. So that is what's leading to this market environment right now. Nice dip in interest rates. And I would love to hear everyone else's thoughts, right? What are your thoughts on AI? What are your thoughts on the labor market? Will it have effects? Let us know.